Hi everybody, this is Chapter 4 in EDU 387, Diversity in Today's Classroom. I'm going to just go through these slides, and there are a few that I want to stop on, and I've added a few more just to help us better understand what diversity really means. So here are some statistics. These are older statistics, but we can still use them. I tried to find newer ones for this particular statistics, but I wasn't unable to find them. But we can sort of just kind of go with these. I did find some updated statistics for some of these. And again, I would say these numbers have probably have increased in terms of the number of minority groups and also the number of teachers, and also the number who went to who received their education through other means. Charters, of course, are the attendance and charters are up. So, and I think the graduation rate is up a little bit, which is a good thing. Okay, so let's kind of look at some of these terms so we can help better understand what we're looking at in a general education classroom. So, diversity in culture, ethnicity, and race. So, culture is the system of meaning and behavior that defines a way of life in a given group. So it's a shared set of values or a shared set of beliefs that really defines a culture. Ethnic group is a group that shares a common ancestry, culture, history, tradition, or sense of peoplehood. So it's familial origins. Race also is based on a family's familial origins. The thing with race is that it's socially constructed and it's changed over time. So race is a modern idea. It has no genetic base. Human subspecies don't exist. Skin color really is only skin deep. Most variation is within, not between races. And slavery predates race. Race and freedom evolved together. Race justified social inequalities as natural. Race isn't biological, but racism is real. Colorblindness will not end racism. All right, and I think those are all important points. And I didn't dwell on them, but I think the book really fleshes them out a little bit. And they're important concepts to remember. A teacher has to believe in those concepts in order to reach every child in his or her classroom. Okay, let's see. Look at these briefly. Asian Americans, Native Americans, Alaskan Natives. Again, those are percentages for your perusal. The largest bilingual group is Hispanic. Latinos is also the largest minority group. African American are the second largest. Take a look at multicultural approach to education. It's based on this pluralistic belief. And let me just say something about that. So when I went to school back in the ancient times, history in particular was taught from a white Anglo-Saxon point of view. It was based on Western, the forward Western movement, and other peoples were not recognized as having contributed a whole lot, except for maybe punctuated by some extraordinary people. Multiculturalism looks at history in the world in a pluralistic way, and that we need to look at it from other perspectives rather than what has been the traditional Western way of looking. And to do that, you have to believe that cultural differences have strength and value, and you have to believe that schools should be models for the expression of human rights and respect for cultural differences. You have to believe that social justice and equality for all people should be paramount importance in the design and delivery of curricula. Social justice particularly so important to think about that. Attitudes and values necessary for the continuation of a democratic society can be promoted to in schools. And schooling can provide the knowledge, dispositions, and skills to help students from diverse groups learn. And educators working with families and communities can create an environment that is supportive of multiculturalism. The climate today, folks out there, is really is really moving towards an ethnocentric Western viewpoint. If you look at any of the news articles, Arizona has banned the teaching of ethnic literature as separate classes. Colorado was making a move to do something similar. You'll see many states, their textbooks reflect a very Western um, mindset. And this is just not good because our schools are made up of many, many different kinds of people, and this country was built on the backs of many kinds of people. And so it's really important that we have social justice at the forefront, especially in our classrooms with these diverse learners. So what are the implications for the classroom? So even though persons are influenced by their cultures, they remain individuals. No group of people are all the same, okay? So we can't group them all together and lump them all together. These are the Hispanic children. These are the African American children. These are the Alaskan American children. These are the Eurocentric, European ancestry children. That's not good for anybody. Well, we need to recognize the cultural backgrounds of these students and be able to understand their values and belief systems, because sometimes their values and belief systems conflict with what's appropriate for what we expect in schools. We have to look at them as individual people. Being awareness of our own culture is important, for one thing, and then being aware and understand our students' culture, and then being able to develop those effective cross-cultural communication skills. So very important. Linguistic diversity is another consideration. We talk about heritage language or home language, and it's often not English. And oftentimes the parents speak very little English or no English at all. And oftentimes at parent-teacher conferences, the children have to translate for their parents. It's going to be important for us, if we have a large number of linguistically diverse students, that there's somebody there who can converse with that particular parents. I'm going to put these all out here. So Spanish is the largest group of English language learners. Interestingly, Vietnamese and Hmong are second and third, and then Korean, Arabic, Haitian Creole, Cantonese, Tagalong, and Russian. And Navajo, I'm sorry, I thought I had them all up there. Again, an important consideration is communication with parents and other family members. Often parents and family members who do not speak English or do not speak English well feel very divorced from the school system. It's important that we reach out to those parents, that we are able to communicate with them, have someone who can speak their language, and not just forget about them. That's not a good thing to do. Again, two major roadblocks are language and culture. But if we're not bilingual, then maybe have somebody else who can talk to the parents, have printed materials for parents in their preferred language, sign language interpreter for parents who are deaf or hard of hearing. And learn as much as you can about the students who are in your classroom. If you know that you're going to be having a great deal of, say, Somali students, because that's a real reality in our state, or any of the African ethnic groups, or Caribbean groups, or Arabic groups, groups from Iraq or Afghanistan. Knowing their cultures is going to help you help those students. Again, as I noted before, we can't just lump them all together. We have to know their cultures, but we also have to know them as individuals. And park your stereotypes and prejudices at the door. That's of vital importance. Use the cultural differences to bring schools and families together, and never feel you have to apologize for your own culture or ethnicity. That's not appropriate either. Religious diversity is it has always been pretty important, but I think it's becoming even more so. It's not often discussed, but we have to look at that as well, because there are some food considerations, there are clothing considerations, there are activity considerations, and we have to be sensitive to those. This is where I got to some more information, because I think in the state of Maine, while we do have cultural, ethnic, and racial diversity, One of the aspects of cultural diversity is socioeconomic class. And the state of Maine has a great deal of poverty and a great number of children living in poverty. Um, and so I've given you here, and family structure often has something to do with poverty. Not always. I don't want to paint everything with that same brush, but I think it's important to understand that, when I looked up the new statistics, and I'll show you those in a minute, of children living with two married parents, it was 67.4% in 2006. In 1960, it was 6%. I'm sorry, it was 86%. So it's really changed a lot. So here are the statistics in 2006. Here are the 2013 statistics. 64.4% of students live with two parents. 27.8 live with one parent. 23.7 live with the mother only. 4.1 live with the father only. 3.7 live with no parent. And this is interesting, 6.2 live with grandparents. So the family structure of our students is changing as well. And that's a diversity we have to take into consideration. And here is the website for those statistics. By the way, the childtrends.org website had lots of really interesting statistics. And if you want to investigate, go ahead. There's some really neat stuff there. Okay, so I've said this before. The most powerful determinant of diversity among children is family income. In 2007, nearly 13 million American children lived in families with incomes below the federal poverty level. That is an astounding number for a country as rich as the United States. Low family income can impact many aspects of a child's life: healthcare, nutrition, education. I'm going to give you a little bit more information here. Teaching with poverty in mind. We have to do this because children living in poverty may experience emotional and social challenges due to their familial structure or their level of income, behavioral and performance challenges, many stressors that children not living in poverty may not have, cognitive lapse. That should have been lags. I'm sorry. It was supposed to be lapse or lags, and I left off the E. I apologize. Malnutrition. Food insecurity is huge among our children. Environmental hazards, and maybe due to the living conditions, insufficient health care, prolonged absences or tardiness in school. These are all things that we have to keep in mind when we have impoverished children in our classroom. So how do we promote the acceptance of diversity? Promoting academic success, promoting acceptance by peers, teachers and students working together, developing language skills across all curriculum, connecting lessons to students' lives. That's very important. The authentic lessons that help students to understand, how to connect their learning to their lived lives, and then engaging students with challenging lessons. Emphasizing dialogue over lecture. And that's it. I'm not going to go through the things to remember. These are just summaries of what I've already talked about. But really, people, think about what your classroom may look like. If you're teaching in the Portland, Lewiston area, you're going to have cultural, linguistic, and ethnic differences. If you're teaching in a very rural area of Maine, more than likely you're going to experience socioeconomic factors as a diversity. That doesn't mean that's not going to happen, in larger cities. It doesn't mean that in smaller cities you're not going to have cultural, ethnic, or racial diversity. But by and large, let's face it, folks, Maine is very much a white state. It's becoming a more diverse state, but it still is predominantly white. It's very, very important that we remember that, and we're very cognizant of making sure that we are addressing all of our children regardless of who they are, where they came from, or what they believe. So with that, folks, I thank you and have a great day.